I'm gonna go ahead and start putting the bike back together. I noticed something when I was putting it together. It was running low on voltage. It was at about 10 volts. And I checked the fuse block because it was getting hot. And I had a 15 amp fuse in there. And I swapped out a 20 amp and now it's at 12 volts. Which the battery's low, but when it's charged up it should be at 14. This is the exhaust I have for the bike. It's a Carpy's Café Racer exhaust. I extended this section right here by about a foot. Then I bent the pipes right there a little steeper, and I put a bend right there a little steeper. Then I added that bracket which connects to the bottom of the oil pan so that it's supported in the rear. And I have it fiberglass matted in the rear. I'm running the baffle. And got some new O-rings. These should be replaced every time you take the exhaust off and put it back on. And they're pretty cheap, so it's not really a big deal. So I'll get that on. Right there's a bracket to support the rear of the exhaust. So I have to bolt that in next. It just takes forever to bolt in though. Alright, now I just need to put the tank and the rear seat on. The rear seat's just held on by 2 bolts that go through these 2 holes. And there's a stud that goes through this hole right here. And there's just a wing nut on the bottom. So that way if I ever break down or need to replace a fuse, I can take it off pretty easily. And then the seat sits on these 2 bump stops right here. So it keeps it from smashing any of the wires. And I also have some bushings on the seat that sit on the bottom of this metal pan so that they don't hit any of the wires right there. So it actually sits above the frame rails. It doesn't come in contact with them, but it looks like it does. And then the tank, to put it on, I had to shave these brackets down because the tank's off a CB550. This is CB550, so the tank's quite a bit bigger. I had to shave these brackets about a 1/4 of an inch smaller. And then I had to make this bracket right here for it to sit on. And I have a piece of rubber that sits over here so it's not sitting on metal. I put 2 bolts through it and it's sitting on rubber. And it fits good. It has about a 1/2 inch clearance completely under the tank. Thought I'd explain how I made the seat. The back section's off the stock tank that came on the bike. The tank was rusted out, so I cut the rear of the tank off and I sectioned it in half and welded in a strip up the center of it. And then I made the seat pan out of some thin steel, and the seat's just closed cell neoprene foam. That way it doesn't grow any bacteria or anything in it. It can be outside. Right now it's just temporary, but the foam costs like $10, so it's not really a big deal. There's the underside. You can see where I welded in the strip of steel right there. Then I welded in another piece on this back end. And here's the studs. That's just there to make sure that it doesn't ground out on any of the fuses or anything, which I haven't had any problems with it, but I guess I could put something a little nicer right there. But that's how I made the seat. Now the seat's on. Figured I wouldn't fast forward through it, just show you how quickly it is to take off. Now I just have to run that wire right there to the starter solenoid. I need to shorten it, but I don't have the connectors for it, so I'll just run it that long right now. That way I can have a video of it starting today. Alright, just finished getting everything on. Went ahead and ran the fuel lines I made for it. I just gotta put the clips up and put the ground on the battery. And I thought I'd show you what I did for the battery box since there's better light. I went ahead and welded a bracket under this motor mount right here. It just goes in between the motor and the frame. There's this bracket going off that onto the box. And then on the other side, in order to use the factory bolts, I went ahead and put a collar right there and right there, and there's nuts welded onto it so that you can just pass the factory bolts through it, and it bolts onto the battery box instead of bolting onto the original bolts. And it holds the battery box in, and it's solid. And then I went ahead and ran the clutch cable. So now all I have to do is run the ground, and then should be able to start it up. Alright, I just finished getting all that done. I just have to air up the front tire and then I can take it for a test ride. That went good. I had to stop and adjust the clutch as you saw, but it rode good. I didn't take it out of the neighborhood just because I'm using my phone to film, so I didn't want it falling off down the road. But if you like the video, give it a like, comment, and subscribe for more.